Hey everybody, welcome to Snow Talk. This is Wave 3 News meteorologist Brian Good. We have a lot to cover as we always seem to, so let's get right into it. As always, the stats you see there at the bottom of the banner if you ever want to review those. Alright, satellite shows mainly sunny skies, southwest winds decent enough, and with a clearing sky in most areas, I think we have a good shot at least to get a couple degrees above freezing for this afternoon. We're thinking right around 32, but that southwest wind and some decent amount of sun could easily push us to about 33, 34. Either way, not a bad day. The sun does help. 30 here, 30 at the Knox, and colder spot up to the north there at Seymour, and even in North Vernon, where you're still stuck in the mid-20s. All right, let's cover how things are going to play for Valentine's Day, and then we'll get into the picture for later. All right, here is Saturday morning. If you got errands you need to run, you guys need to get out and get some last-minute candy and flowers. It won't be bad tomorrow morning. Could be some hazy sunshine, some high thin clouds overhead. Temperatures very likely very close to where they will be now. In fact, we're not expecting much of a drop for tonight. But then things change. Here we go as we get into 11 o'clock in the morning. You'll start to see the sign of the Arctic front. Look how Seymour took a big drop. We're potentially in the mid-30s here. We'll play with the numbers later and get the timing down, but I wouldn't be surprised if our southern counties do in fact hit 40. If you do hit 40 in our southern tier, you will likely see any snow coming your way begin as rain for only a short amount of time, and then you'll quickly go to snow. But it may not be entirely snow for our southern counties. Here in Louisville, I think we'll get the front to move in just in time to keep it all snow the way it's looking. But these are going to be snow bursts, snow squalls. Not everybody's going to see the same amount and not the same placement. They're going to be very scattered along the Arctic front, but it's going to be very windy, and visibility is going to be poor, so it's going to look like a blizzard at times outside, but a lot of that snow will blow around. And with temperatures right at the freezing mark initially, there may be wet roads to start with the grass accumulations, but as the front gets through the area and we drop more, some of that snow could start sticking to the road, so use some caution. All right, so here it is, midday, 2 o'clock. Seymour down to 21. We're down to either at or below freezing in Louisville with the snow squalls ongoing at 2 o'clock, just now approaching our southern counties. And then as we get into supper time, a lot of you heading out to dinner, temperatures drop to 17 here, 12 in Seymour, and when you're done with dinner and your plans, temperatures begin to enter the single-digit territory, and that's where we're hover just in time for early on Sunday. As far as snow amount, this is just one model's idea, but it gives you really the best picture of this. It's very light snow overall, less than an inch is what we're talking about. Some of you could get a half inch of snow in some cases if you get a heavier snow burst. But as always, keep us updated on your reports that you get, and that will help us out in doing the nowcasting or the short-term forecasting. On top of all of that, though, there is the wind chill we're going to talk about. Here are the wind chills at the start of the actual Arctic front. It's cold. It feels like 21 here in Louisville, but look at Seymour. It feels like 2 at 2 o'clock. And by the time we head toward the sunset time frame, wind chills here in Louisville in the single digits, below zero off to the north, and everybody below zero as we head into Saturday night into early hours on Sunday. So not record-breaking cold the way it's looking, but bitter cold air by all means on tap. So that is what we're planning for as we head into Valentine's Day and to the start of Sunday. After Sunday, we are tracking 2 features, really actually 3 if we had to get real picky. One is going to be the Arctic front moving through on Saturday, of course. Now, let me take you on a wider view to show you what's going on elsewhere. There is a system of the lead wave we were talking about yesterday. It's still forecast to arrive sometime on Sunday night into Monday. The energy for that is right in here. It'll move on shore later tonight and early tomorrow, and then it'll guide itself fast to the south and east. So quick moving system. At the same time, there is another piece of energy behind that is also going to take a similar track, but a little more to the west. The question we're going to have, and it's hard to see with the satellite here, let me see if I can move that so you guys can see. There is actually a cutoff low that's located here to the south, and there's a lot of debate on how much interaction will take place with this cutoff low when that last piece comes around. And that has been the big kicker, because earlier on the models a few days ago were playing up the second wave much bigger, which meant a better chance to get a bigger storm. Now the models are focusing more on the lead wave, which is faster, not as impressive, and being able to really deepen as a strong low, but still could produce a decent snowfall. So that is what we're going to be tracking for this weekend. The lead wave that'll drop in Sunday night into Monday, and a track similar to this. Now this track for Sunday night can easily be altered as well, because it'll depend on the low pressure that is the upper low that's digging in for Valentine's Day, giving to us that cold air, Well, it's going to give snow to the northeast. If it can move out quick enough or displace itself away from the United States faster what the models indicate, I could easily see this track being slightly more to the north. On the flip side, if for some reason this upper low is hanging on and it's slower to move out, the track could continue to trend slightly more to the south. So this track for Sunday night is still not set in stone, mainly because we don't know where exactly is going to enter Canada. We just see it on the satellite. So once it enters on shore and we can sample it, we'll get a better idea of how it's going to interact for Sunday night. So we'll know more on that system tomorrow. The second wave that dives down after that and it tries to interact with the cutoff low that'll be off the California coast, we're not going to get a sample on that baby until sometime Sunday. And I don't expect a lot of change right now, but the reason why I'm mentioning that is that anytime you got a lead wave like this, like we're seeing Sunday, it's going to be really hard for this one to really do much. Because at that point, when that lead wave goes by, it's going to help drag down that Arctic air again, and that is going to force whatever tries to develop here to the south. The only way I could see that changing, and it's being far-fetched at this point, would be the idea that this low is not that strong. Therefore, the push of Arctic air is not that strong. This ends up being a better phasing of the upper low and the energy, and at that point, you get a stronger low that can then track a little further north than what the models have said. I hope you got all that. See how complicated this is? I'm not joking when I say this is complicated stuff. It really is. That's why we have to use computer models, because this is all math-based formulas to try to figure all this out, because we can't. We don't know all the data. So all we can tell is look at a pattern and give you the best idea of how things are looking today, and we keep you updated, and that is how we are going to trend with this. Having said all that, here's another cool look at the vorticity. This really shows you the action going on. This is the GFS. On Saturday, you see that cold push of air that moves in. This is the low pressure that we are going to be watching on Saturday to see how quickly it moves out of the way for its impact as we head into Sunday. Here's that wave Sunday that drops down. And again, it's all looking at this to see what is this doing at that point, and that'll determine how much of a track it'll take to the south or more to the east, or where it's been showing right now across Tennessee. Notice the cutoff flow. There it is, off the Baja Peninsula. Here comes our next piece of energy now that is diving in Western Canada. It's going to drop down, and they get awful close together. Here it is here, and here it is here. But as I mentioned, that lead wave on Sunday already passed through. So what happens? Here comes that Arctic surge again, dropping down across Minneapolis. So, because of our lead wave, it's going to force these two to push to the south, and then there you go. You got a huge full-on trough of very cold air and dry weather for the rest of the week, with maybe a clipper or two, but even any clippers later in the week will likely aim toward Atlanta than Kentucky. So, it's a catch-22. So some of you are real excited about this lead wave Sunday night, but it really is ruining things, if you want to say it that for snow lovers, for what would happen after it. So, it's good and bad. All right, let me show you how things are looking here on the Canadian model. This is as we head down. I really don't like showing models this far out, but it's the best way I can really visually show everything I just explained. Here's the lead wave on Sunday night. Accumulating snowfall, Louisville south at this point. Keep in mind, though, with this lead wave, yes, it's moving in on Sunday night, but it's also moving into colder air, so you get higher snow ratios. You can get more bang for its buck, in other words, out of moisture. So snow ratios are averaging about 20 to 25 with this system, and so you can get a lot of snow. The problem is there is some dry air too. So the northern fringe of this, I don't know how much of that is going to reach the ground. So from Louisville to Lexington, a little iffy on whether or not Virgo or dry air could ruin things on the northern fringe. I'm just giving that. I'm not trying to throw it out in the atmosphere and ruin things here, but I'm trying to let you know that there's a chance for that. But right now, this would be a good snow, mainly south of Louisville. And here comes the energy diving down, and we'll see how those interact. All right, now let me show you the European model. It's very similar, but just slightly more to the south. Still gives Louisville at least a light coating, but a better chance for southern counties and a bigger snow, certainly for Tennessee. And then there's those two features in behind it, our digging next wave and then the cutoff low. Now let me go back to the Canadian and show you what happens. Here's the Canadian. What is interesting about this is that the Canadian tries to leave behind that cutoff flow and tries to do its own little thing here. We'll see not exactly how that's going to play out yet, but it's interesting to see that on the Canadian. The European doesn't do that. The European absorbs that cutoff flow right into the main flow itself and pushes it into the Gulf of Mexico, which is not very exciting. So on the board, I'm going to give 1 bar for Saturday because of the snow squalls and visibility issue. I'm going to keep it at 2 for right now for Sunday night and Monday because a lot of questions still on the track and how much moisture it'll have. And Tuesday through Thursday, no bars, but that will be a period we'll just keep an eye on. Stay tuned.